please.
Mary Ann Fraser Lyons, not present. Brad Pennell,
Present.
Genevieve Radzik,
Present.
Craig Sims,
Present.
Steve Vitalik,
Present.
and Rachel Witzik. And Pankowski is present also.
Okay. Public hearings. Hearings tonight, we have none. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to accept as presented.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comments on agenda items?
Yes,
Okay.
Steve seconded.
Sorry, you good? Approval of the minutes for February 5th, 2019. Did everybody get a chance to see those and read through them?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, communication, correspondence, and workshops. Did
I
any?
have some communication.
Okay.
At the last council meeting, it was email accounts were discussed, and moving forward, we should use our village email accounts. So, did everybody get their address? And does everybody know how to set it up?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll use today as a line in the sand, and then, I guess, you know what I'll do, Jeff? I will get you all the addresses.
Perfect, we have a master list format.
Yep, I seen you guys communicating yesterday, and I'm like, I'll just wait, forget it.
Okay.
And then I'll email Mary Ann as well, so she's aware.
Anything else?
Nope.
Good. Okay, matters for consideration. Old business, let's, if you don't mind, move number 3 up to number 1. I should have done this just so that they can present and be free to leave. Are you guys okay to go right now?
Sure.
Okay, so 57070 Gratiot Party Store, Coyotes.
Okay.
Thank you. Tom Kellogg from Langer Associates, 17001 Lincoln Road, Clinton Township, Ward 8038. So we have gone back and modified our site plan to address some of the comments that were from the previous meeting. One of the things was that we had the front entrance of the building facing Gratiot, and we now have parking on that side for along the front of the normal business. Basically, we're here to answer your questions regarding the site plan. We do have some renderings that have been prepared of the new building that I understand can get out to the planning commission, but we've got some color renderings that we could show you if you'd like to look at them and have some comments.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Are they on that table?
The color renderings.
So,
Oh,
I-
Jessica.
You can, I'm not sure which one are the ones.
All of them.
City roll has them, so
All of
if
them.
you want to roll them up.
They're all the
that's
same.
better. Yeah, we'll do that.
Let's do one in.
Let's see here first.
Corral it here, she still gets to go.
Present.
So it's a little bit deceiving, only because of the angles of the building. So that you're looking from, I believe this is the Gratiot side. So when you're looking at Gratiot, you're also seeing,
So this is the corner, correct?
this is the corner.
Over here.
This is a, this could be on the trash side. This is like.
Did you guys end up extending into that lot, the house?
Yes,
Yes.
that's what we did. This is the Gratiot side.
That right there?
This is 26.
I'm sorry.
So will this actually be facing?
Yeah.
So let's get this out of the street.
So this is Gratiot and this is
And this lot to the side.
That is this,
This is
right?
facing Gratiot. This is
This is all the same
So
line.
this is the
Facing the jet.
entrance here,
Okay.
entrance
Jet.
here.
Whatever
Entrance
entrance
is-
or something.
Because there's one Gratiot, and one this way for people driving by.
This is
Makes
Gratiot here.
This is what we have.
Just so everybody knows,
This
we,
is facing north.
guys, we will move to the table. I'm sorry, Joe, that'll probably, also what, has been added to this is that they plan on, putting the two lots together, and they're removing the house next door, just so everybody knows, right? Is that a plan?
Right, okay, yeah, I figured that out from this.
I think even, don't we have a road commission issue?
We'll take it to the
Still,
table so that everybody
driveway
can.
being too close to the intersection?
We are actually moving it further away from the intersection.
Well, I thought even at this plan it was still.
Oh, that was the existing one?
So here's Gratiot. So where's the point?
Let's take off the first page.
Let's,
Okay,
This
this,
is Gratiot, Gratiot.
right,
Gratiot, this one says-
just show
Then
Gratiot here.
it's really easier to identify them on sheet
Oh, I
3.
see that square off at the back now, Rob, now I'm
this is
seeing.
Gratiot.
Here's that little
Looking at
short piece.
Gratiot.
This is that little short piece.
Okay,
right here.
yep, I see it now.
Because I think we talking about two entrances because we had a parking lot here, parking lot here. We're gonna put two entrances, one in front, one is the corner. You won't drive in and see it. So two corners.
Right. Look
Tom,
better.
this is what you see from Gratiot, this side.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Yes.
this is Gratiot, yes.
This is internal, this is this side.
yep.
That's the other side, yeah. This one.
Okay, what do you see from 26?
This?
Oh, that's-
I can't.
No, you can see that.
short side
There we go.
That's what you see from 26, you drive
That-
Okay.
Oh, you see.
south.
Okay. Plans of the building.
This is, they're considered their back.
Okay, right there.
There's your
Yes.
loading.
This line right here.
Yeah.
This
This
here.
one is the
Okay.
east elevation, yeah.
Originally, the entrance was over here, right?
Yeah.
Now it's, so isn't this?
In that corner.
Now everybody will know how to get in.
Yes, we do.
These door is too.
No, don't here, on this corner.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff.
No, I'm just.
Here's
trying to turn
This is the right one here, this is here.
Oh, I see,
This is,
from here to there.
yes,
It's
from here to here. If you look at like an angle, yes, you
So, yeah.
Take that out.
yeah.
Okay.
Because people like to drive from here, wherever they go, they're gonna see the whole building. So we decided to do all of it, stones and ephes, which is stucco, all around it. Usually people, they don't do that back door, but because you drive, you see it all. So we're gonna do all around the building, same stones and,
So the door is one main,
yeah.
and then
This is one,
loading,
yeah, for,
loading,
and one here.
and there's one there.
Yeah.
Okay, fire exit or another exit on the back.
Okay, let's just, for the sake of go around and see if anybody has questions, and then input from Jeff and Scott. So Rob, you got anything?
These are windows, correct?
Yes,
And these are,
windows, all windows.
oh, okay.
So
Are
these
they-
are, even I have something, that's fine, you know, when they make a window, you can use it now. I think we can put an advertising sign or something there, if something covered.
So will the windows be visible from?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we do.
You know?
Let's say it was. And instead of, put like canopy, this is the, what called, Stockholm,
Right.
rather, so it'll be like 3 feet wide. So you can, sorry, you can people
No
wide,
answer.
and then, yeah.
Is that gonna, if it's gonna be that deep, when they're coming off here with their loading, is it gonna be high
10
enough that the
feet.
bud truck trailer won't take it
10
up?
feet, is it 10 feet high?
Let's see, we got 20, yeah, 10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet.
That's, I think it's more than,
That'll
Most
clear.
of those, side loading trucks are only
no.
eight and a
yeah.
half, or, I semi might have a hard time, but, I
Yeah,
don't think you would need to put a semi in there anyway.
You'll get those typical weird trucks.
Yeah.
Are you
Most of
gonna
them are
have-
like side loaders, so they're not that heat, and that shouldn't be,
Yeah, this should clear.
I don't think
You'll
it'll-
pull up
He
here
checked
and
it,
turn.
he checked on the computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We did a turning radius for, whatever, like that 40-foot and a 20.
Tractor trailer.
Yeah.
What do you use your max, Tom?
I think it was 40, I thought it was a 40-foot trailer and maybe a 15-foot.
We may, at the engineering, probably, we may want you to put aside, no larger truck than.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That's on this turn.
Yeah.
This turn is fine. I see, that's the smart way to do it. The garbage should come in, back up and leave. So they don't have to go around the building.
Okay, Rob, are you good?
Well, while you're here, that's a good question for you. My concern was that the way this is that the garbage man is gonna dump his can outside the door and never put it inside the damn thing because it's got a kind of angle and turn into it straight here versus this being a straight-on access from here. He pulls in, grabs it.
Oh, you want to reorient it this way?
Well, that's what
Well,
I'm
what's the
thinking, so it's not so
distance
hard
between-
to
Yeah,
turn into
here.
what's the
here.
distance between
And
here?
then what if he
and
backs in and
that?
takes out this Fishes stuff?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I do.
If he's backing out always this way, he's never gonna hit this, but if he's trying to get in here and he knocks that overhang,
Yeah,
What's the footage here?
Well,
24, clear, or more than that.
Oh, yeah, it's this-
Because the wall is here.
Yeah, here's 20%, maybe 30.
It's about 30 feet back.
because we have enough parking now, right?
Parking is sufficient, yes.
So if they were to take up a space to have it a straight-on hit,
I don't know, I think he comes in, he's gonna be able to go in here. Nobody
Did
is
you
driving
simulate
in
that,
right
Tom?
on your left and
Did
over.
you simulate the
Or-
garbage
yeah.
truck?
For the garbage truck.
Why don't you go ahead and do that? Because these guys are pretty good on tight radiuses. They'll go in, yeah, I'm.
I don't know the garbage guy used to talk.
You may want to make that wider, and just, give them a little bit more room. But simulate that, doesn't work,
Yeah, because he's gonna know, I mean, if he
Or
doesn't
if
put this back in, he ain't gonna be able to back out. Well, without taking off that on. It'll be a tight turn, but, yeah, it might be something that,
I think it'd be easier if it's straight-on, pulls in straight, hits it back, and he's not gonna do that.
yeah.
Just pull it over there.
You bought this line, didn't you?
He already owns
Yeah. So if you straighten that out, make your angle easier this way. It'll be easier on the garbage truck to come.
so would the garbage man be able to access both?
No.
So he would have,
It would
somehow you have to
have to come in this
maybe
way.
make some sort of signage, because if he pulls in here.
They'll learn.
They're gonna learn the first time.
They'll learn, right?
Well, you could come
Well,
around this
actually,
way.
He could.
They need
You
signage that he
could
needs
come in
to
here and then back in.
They don't, the forks are in front.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
top and front.
Well, yeah, you're right, though. He'll
Yeah.
figure
But
it
he would
out.
have the clearance to get around here if
Yeah.
he needs for a tractor trailer.
Yeah, we don't want them to do that, though. We want to have them,
Usually it's the same driver,
Yeah.
same route, for the most part.
but we can take care of that geometry during the engineering.
When you contract them, you can tell them they have to come in on 26 too.
Yeah.
Do that too.
The first time we got the access to set their line.
And so are all these little things bushes?
Yes, right now?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trees.
I really don't want to see bushes just randomly sitting in the grass. I'd rather use that landscaping to buffer this or buffer whatever here.
Are you gonna fence this?
No need for that.
It's just gonna be open?
Yeah.
Because all these little bushes sitting out in the middle of your grass, it just, to me, it looks like junk. The gas station at the corner of 27 and Gratiot, it's a good example. The bushes just laying out in the middle of the lawn
So that's we got.
with no landscaping. No, remember we moved all the bushes over to the one side of the building to soften it because there was no doors over this. We were
We
trying-
moved them like down in this area here, just as a,
But you don't have that opportunity anymore because it's all cement.
right, I don't think that's, I mean, they do, what's,
Well, I mean, yeah, if that's the case, if we're not gonna put anything here, then I would say, yeah, put something there.
But he's not gonna, are you gonna landscape make a buffer of landscape and rocks and border all the way around all those bushes and trees, or are they just sitting in the grass?
Grass, right? That's what Joey already done, what they do usually, what the normal, grass, right?
Yeah, just like a landscape berm.
Like McDonald's.
Nice,
No,
nice,
it's
so,
not like,
yeah.
it's like 27 in Gratiot. There's just all those straight bushes, there's a tree, a straight bush.
It's a burn though, is it a burn? Or no?
I didn't read it.
No.
It's a requirement, it's just for shrubs.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be, I think that's kind of.
I mean, we change it from shrubs
That's
to
how they have to.
some type of a tree or, you know.
Well, these are trees.
These are trees.
These are trees.
Oh, okay.
And then this is your shrubbery.
All right.
I think it'll look
Oh, here,
nice
it's
as long as,
37.
you know, as long as it's made right.
As far as the plan goes, with the species that he's chosen, they meet the ordinance of what we ask for shrubs. And the amount is right and the placement of it is correct as well, so.
I would be good with that because it gets a little more curvy, otherwise it's
Sure.
just grass.
You gotta go drive 27 and look at the
It will be,
But it
it does
doesn't mean
require
it's
it to be
issue?
irrigated, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no one's gonna ever correct them after we build it.
Call code enforcement.
Right, it's a maintenance issue.
We've
It's
gone
not
code
maintenance.
enforcement for 14 years.
It's Dan now. Oh, it's Dan now.
Until Dan's
Love
gone.
that.
Until Dan's gone. I would have,
Never even.
I try and look at things being 10 years
Well,
from
then
now.
I guess, well, then we have to go and change the ordinance.
Well, yeah, but he can have bushes, but why not put all these bushes along here to soften the look at this house? Plus any kind of lights that are hitting this house, at least it gives him a buffer on this house here, so that there's nothing.
Right,
We
I
could move these bushes
understand
here
what
and make
you're
it a
saying.
buffer to this house, so that it's not getting lights from people
What's the
pulling in
screening
and out.
criteria?
Screening's not required on that because it is a non-conforming use. It's zoned, since that's zoned commercial, other than lighting not leaving the site, which is typical for everything, we don't have a screening requirement there other than the setback that's there, which I think we have minimum 5 there.
I mean, if he has to place so many bushes, place them so that they're useful in screening this property from this property, since we can't require a wall because,
There isn't a screening requirement, so we can't.
well, it's bush placement.
I kind of like them. I mean, as long as they're maintained.
If it's a
I think-
farming site, what would be the street?
If it were a conforming site, what we would have is we would have additional screening, we would have additional plantings amongst the parking lot. What we're actually seeing here is the parking lot requirement for trees, there's, I think for every, remember what it is, it's 10 square feet for every 100 feet of parking space. So I think there were like 4 or 5 different, 4 trees, I believe, were additional, needed to be in there, but now they're out of there. So, I mean, all the landscaping that's totally required is there, except for a few additional islands that would be in the parking lot.
But you would like to see some screening between residential and this guy.
Yeah, just.
Can you
Well,
add,
and I-
can
I
you add
guess-
some?
Well,
It's not-
pause a
this
moment,
is-
that has to be a collective
Oh,
decision.
we're just
You know what I'm
asking.
saying, so I don't want,
Well, he's asking a question of what he, he's just
Right.
defining what I'm looking for.
right, but it's just, it has to be a collective agreement that
Well,
we
yeah.
require that, okay.
Vote on it, but it's
Yeah,
done.
that's what you guys want. This is the time to talk.
Just so we can move on. Anything else besides that is a concern?
About the building, any question about the building, any colors, anything? Yeah, that's it.
Is this the
Right.
color you're using?
Honestly, I mean, I think the different colors I have, that's, I thought you guys saw it before, because I gave Chris a couple copies like a week ago. I have 3 samples, I'd like to show you maybe. I just said the way it is gonna be stone here, and different kind of stone here, and stucco, leafless on the top, with 3-foot overhang. Here it'll be like a little bit like 3.5 foot by the door, same thing here will be like, what's it called, you see it more appealing, something like that, you know what I'm saying? But the font will be like 3.5 instead of 3, so we do it more appealing.
Is this conforming, Joe?
And you're putting this up tall enough so all the utilities are coming up top.
This
Of
one,
course,
sir,
yeah.
Oh, here.
this is.
Yeah, does that one?
Okay, that's great, that's great.
So the stones, we can decide on that, on the color, everything. I mean, just like,
So it's natural limestone on the Gratiot side and also on the east side. And then you've got the difference.
all the bottom, yeah.
The bottom.
Only thing, Yeah, it's hard to find limestone with different colors. So we're gonna, similar to it, very similar to cast stone or different kind of stone, just similar to limestone, which you have a lot more options to choose from. As I said, I have a few samples, if you guys like them, if not, this color is good, we can go with this color. And the stone here, that could be like, what we call a split face or smooth, we can do either or. You know what I'm saying?
What is the material in between windows, between that and the facade?
Here.
This, what's
I
being
think-
brown
Does that
here?
say,
Block, right? They have blocks.
So it's split
it
block.
says ledge wrap?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Okay.
I was looking at thermal paint windows, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
This is the stone, and I think they put the blocks first, right? 8-inch or 12-inch blocks, then they put the stone.
That's, okay.
Yeah, Joseph.
So it's
those
not
are-
the
those
split,
are all
the
permissible.
split.
This is, it's like any other building.
No, it's
I mean,
different.
like, you have to
It's
get a corner,
black, and then
stop
it's
what they
like-
call it,
it's like
or
the
like
back
this,
goes up front of it.
exterior,
If I'm
color
understanding
cement.
it
Just
correctly.
full fills with
That's
dirt.
why I figure,
Yeah, it looks crappy when all the dirt sits in there. and
Yeah.
Who's gonna wash the building every week? No.
Okay, Rob, if you're gonna move on to Steve.
I'm good.
And one handicap, that was my last question, is that enough for this,
Yes,
Yeah, for the count.
for the count it is, and it's handicap and van accessible, so it's a larger
So one
space.
question, where will the lighting be?
That's one of the items that,
It was in-
that's one of the things that we still need to see,
Okay.
and then we can take care of it.
Okay, I thought that's what it-
Engineering review.
Yeah, the photometrics, we have to see those and what kind of,
We had them
Like
for the
fixtures.
last plan, we didn't have them redone, but we can have them redone, but basically they're gonna be, I think they were basically.
There was one, yeah.
Here, and probably, I'm not sure if I have something here, or maybe something on the building.
So nothing on the outskirts
Oh,
here, basically,
I'm sorry.
on the perimeter of the building, but nothing on the outer.
Almost like it'd be concrete.
One of them was here.
Yeah,
That's what most
Here.
people do,
Yeah.
is in-
And
you hit them there.
Possibly there.
They're elevated.
yeah, we need to show
That
those.
one,
Yeah.
what did they
Should be.
catch?
That's not coming.
You got all this lit up pretty good, unless there is a street light on that corner.
maybe I would have
I don't
to.
That's
remember.
our comments.
Oh, you got that.
Well, that's enough to,
The thing with that is we gotta stay out of all the future right
I'll
away.
just-
Okay.
Yeah, this comes in like right here. So this had to go to that in the work commission.
You can't count their lighting, because you never know if they'll move it or take it.
Yeah.
or if it works.
But I think Tom's idea is good, you know, on this side, have them on the building, on this
Yeah.
side. put 'em on the-
Okay, yeah.
So they shine away from this
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
don't want,
regardless if this house is conforming or not.
Yeah, our
it's still
lighting,
somebody's
our
building.
lighting specifications with that photometric study, that shows that the light is going to be contained on site.
so are these like LEDs or?
We don't have a standard that they can choose. Hopefully they'll choose LED.
Probably,
Yeah, I'm sure. That's what everyone's using today.
They're bright.
And the LEDs have, they have very nice ways of blocking off light so that it's very.
Direct.
Directional, that's-
Off lighting and.
Yeah, that was my only question. That's what popped in my head. Right now, there's nothing else.
And, Jeff, the signage, we can decide on that for the signage.
Yeah, well,
we will decide
we'll
on
need
that in the
we
future.
will need a sign plan, and then you work with
That's
Lori
it,
on
for
that.
the future, we can do that,
Yeah,
right?
We'll review those separately, yep.
Rachel, no, I'm good. Grace?
Is there any lighting on the building itself in these overhangs?
I think there should be underneath it, usually they have lights.
Rather than here
Yeah.
or under?
Underneath. You can put here, maybe up to, depends on
Are you
design.
thinking like soffit lights,
Soffit
can't lights
lighting?
underneath, so you have
Yeah.
some of the sidewalk areas?
So, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
They should have, they're gonna be all in the design,
Okay,
structural design, after this.
right.
Can you, our lighted signs, will you be able to light signs on the fascia?
Yes, we can do wall signs, channel signs, I mean, there's a number of options there, all detailed within our existing sign ordinance, might be changing, so. but
The way you
the
propose
basics-
it is two monuments.
Yeah, you'd be you're looking at two monuments, we're looking at,
Monuments.
because that's was the question that I had, those are monument signs out at out of the curb. You're entitled to two because you're on a thoroughfare both ways. I'd have to take a look and see what the maximum square footage is that's allowed there. I don't have it in my top of my head. And then based upon the amount of facade that you have, there's a square footage calculation for that sign.
Okay.
Generally, one wall sign is allowed. I have to look to see. Normally, one wall sign per business, but since you were on two thoroughfares, we may be able to allow two, but there might be a maximum square footage that has to be divided into both.
Awesome. Okay.
Or 1/3, 2/3, 1/3,
We kind of work
as
with
long as
that.
we don't exceed the maximum, we can work on that.
Thank you.
These monument signs, we use the same materials for them as you're gonna put on the building?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not
I
sure.
would think you would tie tie
Yeah,
them together.
Once we look at the signs, our monument signs require some type of a landscape base, and they have base materials that are specified, stone being one of them. So if that's the case, it makes sense to match them.
Where were you thinking of, since some are allowed, where were you thinking of putting?
There's one here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. Okay.
On the drawing that we got, it was pretty hard to print it
Yeah.
out. It really too small.
Craig?
I tried doing define glass, but that didn't.
Okay, did you guys, I'm good, 'cause did you have anything, either of you, that you wanted to say till before we go back to the table?
No, I have nothing.
Did you gentlemen have anything to add before we go back to the table?
They have to
Is this markings or is this?
comply with all the engineering and the road commission.
Is this a marking? Or
Right,
is this?
right, but you don't
Or
park.
your parking?
It's getting cooler and all these windows, oh, here's the door.
Well, yours is-
So then these are,
Oh, okay.
You got the serials, yeah.
I'm just
Oh,
saying,
it's a walk-
what do you think? How many different colors?
okay, that's just the front load.
I think they were talking about
Yeah.
It's all very
windows
nice.
being
Yeah, that's
visible, but
nice.
not.
That's why you.
Right.
Visible.
Now it's got real windows here.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't be prone to white, just because, again. Oh, you're,
That looks nice.
This is like at the bottom gonna be, like a bigger block. The smaller size gonna be between the windows. That's what we thinking about.
yeah, the natural material look, that's nice. It looks really good.
So what do you think, ladies? Maybe these two? Not sure. All the same, almost.
As long as it fits, you know?
Yeah, I like any of them.
I do too, I mean.
No, this is a nice
Good job,
color.
guys, good job. It's nice, yeah.
I mean, it's manufactured look, but it looks natural, it looks nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's bright.
Right, yeah. So we choose,
Green.
or what do you
You
think?
choose.
Okay.
I think everyone's happy with those
Mhm.
choices,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
whatever
a great
combination you come up with, thinks best, looks best to them.
Okay. Because the last time I thought you guys mentioned something about the color of the molding. So I got the.
I think it was
We
more
like
so
the
that the
scheme. We like the
texture and
scheme. I
yeah,
think-
there's a lot more.
I think it was
Life
that,
to it.
what was it, the teal,
It was
the
a
teal.
teal, yeah.
was
Yeah, the
a
green
little-
didn't work.
I would like the natural,
Okay.
that's a nice, that, anything there is really.
The natural materials, I guess, is
Yeah.
all good. Yeah.
Okay, so good.
Any of those are worth it. I like.
Or the natural look of materials that are even better. It's pretty manufactured, so. It looks like you just carved it out of there.
All right, okay, are we ready to go back?
I think so.
So while we're looking at it, are we in agreement that
You dig
scatter the
those.
bushes? We're trying to use some of these bushes to buffer this house.
But that talk was a possible.
I guess we can do this. I mean,
I thought we were talking about a fence.
I can do it, which is, it's not,
Yeah.
not,
Who owns this?
there's somebody else.
It's not you.
Yeah, somebody else. But we talk about the bottom here.
Against this property.
It's not real. I have 300 trees and bushes in 1 acre.
Yes, it would
So
probably
I'm not worried
be,
about
it
it.
would probably be a nice neighbor, anything to,
Well, you don't want them calling every other week, you know. just-
great.
Like it costs something.
Well, you don't want them to be unhappy. They live there.
Yeah, it would be very neighborly.
And a fence along the backside.
That's why I'm trying to push the bush away.
But then you have to put some sort of grass. or
Okay,
Landscaping for the bushes to.
What would be the cement curb against the end of the property line? See, the way this is laid out,
Where did we go
there's
from?
no border around it.
Where did we go next with this?
I can give my comments.
Okay.
That's.
Yeah.
And actually,
Kind of, you're talking.
tonight, based on contingent time.
Would be concrete, right?
Okay, guys. Okay, Jeff's gonna go on with his feedback and recommendations.
Did a review on the site plan number 2, which you guys should have all received. Was dated February 19th. I will not read the whole thing. Many items that were on here, projects that had been called out on the first site plan, still need to be addressed. One, we do, as noted, we do need a full site signage plan to be submitted. As we noted, the interior lots landscaping and the parking lot landscaping, there are deficiencies in the amount of trees that should be in the parking interior lot, but Planning Commission does have the ability to modify those screening requirements. So if we look at the case here, in terms of parking lot landscaping, I'm sorry, 4 trees, 8 shrubs, in and around the site. Apologies, I just lost my space here. Our ordinance requires interior landscaping is 1 tree and 2 shrubs for each 400 square feet of parking lot space. So we're basically, I think, 2 trees short in this whole thing. So they could be moved to front berms. It's really up to you guys and how you want to address that. Because you do have an administrative leeway to waive those requirements or to ask it to be done differently. The other thing that was noted is that Planning Commission did need to approve the building facade. We did see those designs tonight, so if you guys are happy with that moving forward. The lighting on the site, as noted, we do need a lighting plan. And the last big item that I had was related to Sermet's comments. We do still need to see a drainage plan. We do need full permit items to come in from the road commission because both Gratiot and 26 Mile Road are their jurisdiction there. There might be a conflict with the 26 Mile Road entrance and the driveway that's existing with that additional house that would not be demoed on site. So these guys are going to talk to the road commission and come back. The last item that I can think of that was on there that was of note related to the site itself. As you've seen with the site plan, lot assembly, parcel assembly is being done here by the applicant to make this site larger. He's taking a portion of 2 lots that he owns. Before we give final site plan approval, we would need to go through the combine process to put this all into one single tax parcel. So that will need to be done, and that's something you can initiate with the building department. And we can walk through that, discuss it.
I have the application from you guys.
Perfect. Basically, my recommendation would be to, since we're moving forward on this, if you guys are pleased with the architectural renderings, would be to provide these guys preliminary site plan approval, allow them to get all their engineering done, do the engineering for the underground that they need to do for the stormwater, and then both Sermet and I will administratively take a look at all those items to make sure that everything's complete, and we'll come back to you guys with a recommendation for final site plan approval once we have all those pieces.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on that?
No, I do have a comment. Thank you for the sidewalk. Looks great.
Thank you. Next time.
I did notice you added it.
Yeah.
Okay, looking for a motion for preliminary site plan approval.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, should we include the specifics that are,
You could call, I believe I have all of them listed in my review here of what would need to take place.
Where do you see the lines?
There's items 1 through 9.
And lighting.
it was lighting, drainage,
Lighting, drainage, land assembly,
Yeah.
approval from the road commission for access for the driveways, an engineer approved stormwater, or just approved engineering plans.
Now we attach his letter.
We could.
as part of the.
And then, now that we have, the other thing that we will do is now that we have a preliminary site plan, that we'll also ask comments from DPW, fire, and police on it as well. Just any comments from DPW, fire, police, if they have any objections or note anything of concern.
How about just per planning recommendation then too?
That should be sufficient.
Okay.
I
And
do
then we
have-
can attach the letter.
I do have a question on the motion. We didn't mention it, and I can't read it if it does say it. The trash receptacle, again, will be matching materials to the building. Okay.
And then I could ask a question. So regarding the turning of the dumpster, if we turn it where we lose the parking spot, which then we would be one space short, but we might be able to twist a little bit in that, triangular, no parking area, we can maybe twist it in that area. And it's a little bit deceiving because the concrete out front makes it appear that it's longer than it really is.
I mean, if it's possible to do it, I'm just thinking about what the garbage truck takes out a big portion of his building and sits there until he can get it repaired, and, you know, whatever it takes, insurance and fighting, and it looks like crap for a year and a half, and,
Was that a study that you guys
but
did?
But yes, it's a
And they was
study
looking
there for a
for-
reason.
he was looking for,
Was there one?
no.
We can run a truck radius
I mean-
in there.
I think it's in your own benefit to have it better for the garbage man myself. I had nothing but
If they
problems.
lose the space though, that might kind of change the whole ballgame.
Right, because then you need a ZBA. But like I say, we can turn it, and then we can do the truck,
Yeah.
with truck turning radius for sure.
And if it works, then there's no reason
Right.
to change it.
Yeah.
You be fine with that, Robert?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have three, right? We're gonna combine it, we're gonna have two parcels, right? You're gonna have two, not only one.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, remember? Yeah.
Vote?
Yeah, so
That's
we're
more
gonna
like
vote for
14,
one
15 feet.
for-
I'll definitely hit that thing.
Sorry, Tracy.
So we're just covering.
A
Preliminary.
little small, so I guess I might depend on my parcel.
Correct. Okay.
This parcel. Can I cut it here?
This is, what's left over?
Yeah, most of all, only this, we might put something else in the future. So we're gonna have two, instead of three, but combined, we're gonna have only two.
Okay.
That's
We just wanted to do the motion as a preliminary based on all these items
Based on
being
the
addressed.
recommendations of planning
Yeah, in the,
and engineering.
okay, right.
So would this be something we'd look at again next month?
not,
When the site plan is, when they have a final site plan, and Sir Med's done his complete engineering and has got his letter, we'll bring it back to you guys for the recommendation for final approval.
And can part of the motion be just to attach Jeff's letter to the minutes?
Sure.
So that if anybody really wants to know exactly what we're waiting on, that sort of.
Yeah, 'cause you don't gotta write all that out.
Okay. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, so.
You seconded it.
Oh,
Or no, you motioned, he seconded.
Thank you.
Yeah, you second
It's hard to purchase.
for the preliminary site plan.
Yes.
Okay, so, do a roll call on it.
Tracy Bankowski, yes. Mary Robert Bell.
Yes.
Genevieve Radzik.
Yes.
Craig Sims.
Yes.
Steve Vitalik.
Yes.
And Rachel Witsit.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, you guys are all set?
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much for everything.
Excited to see it.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to master plan discussion. And we have handout. Was there a handout with that?
Yes, just informational items for you guys tonight. just to let you know that the elves have been working at Santa's workshop back at the county. What we did over the last 30 days is, the staff's gone through and has gone and re-updated all of the, starting to collect all the demographic information. What you see in the spreadsheet that I sent out, is not printed out here, that is pretty much the complement of what was collected last time, so we can do some comparisons. And then what we've done is we've taken some of the highlights of the demographics, just put the highlights of the demographics, put them together as infographics, and we will use these throughout the document once we put it together. There's really, I would say there was nothing notable that totally stood out in terms of change between last time and this time last time, other than we are continuing to see a decrease in household income. In fact, what we looked at from 2010 to 2017, about 3.5% drop. But that is American Community Survey. That is a survey, it's a sample survey. So it's not like we're talking to every resident. So it is interpolated. Generally, the census is pretty good with those numbers, plus or minus a couple percent. So it is a factor. You know, it is one of the indicating factors. The other thing that we did is spend some time, we pulled together updated traffic counts. In fact, I was just able to get those from SEMCOG this week because they had some new ones that came in. Unfortunately, everything that is in the New Haven study area here are all numbers that we've all seen before. So I can put, if you guys want to see hard numbers, I realized I did not put them on here. I just kind of colored them in ranges. But I do have hard numbers for every one of these segments, and we'll put them on other maps once they get published. We did go through, based upon file that I received from Lennox Township assessing, and looked at land use. Looked at what we had on the map from the previous plan, that would have been the Birch or Royal map that was done. We added to it and updated it at the first master plan update that we were involved in the county. And this is basically what we believe that is on the ground today, with changes that have been made along Gratiot, a couple of other things that have developed, and plus a number of infill homes. We used our 2019 or 2018 spring aerial photography to check for new lots net in the developing subdivision, especially up in this Redford, Margot, Weathervane area. And then actually did drive through the community just to spot check a couple of things that I wasn't sure of. And what you'll see here is this is land use. It's not zoning. It's not future land use. So although if you look at the southwest corner of the community, Roselle and 26, although that is also an industrial, pretty much all of those businesses that are operating in a commercial manner. So that's why you're seeing it red, it's commercial. And we still do have two outlier single-family houses down here in our still. So I would say if you guys take a look at this, if there's anything that you noticed I missed, it's probably on the electronic, the PDF file. It's a little easier to zoom in and look at. Just send me your comments. Next couple meetings we can adjust this map and make any changes if we missed a corner or something else hasn't been developed. And then lastly, and this isn't a real happy map at all, the pavement condition map.
I like that we
This-
have it.
This is the latest and greatest information that came from SEMCOG. And the map that I originally sent to you guys did not have as much detail as this one did, because I went with what they had published. And then someone at the road department told me that they thought that they had driven every street in the community except for the mobile home parks, which they did. So I reached out to SEMCOG, and basically this is what they came back with. What this is based on is it's based on a system called the PACER system. It is a pavement rating system that was created by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. And it basically is a numerical value system from 1 to 10 that's assigned to a roadway, where 10 is a perfect road and 1 is a road that you cannot basically drive down, going back to just dirt. So there's a whole continuum there. So 7, 8, and 9 condition is considered in good condition. That might be some cracks, that might be some general things in pavement. 4, 5s, and 6s are considered in fair condition. That's potholes. I mean, there's a picture, if you want to do a deeper dive, I can bring you guys in a document that shows what those conditions are. And then poor is where you're right, you've got cracks, you've done a lot of patching, you've already done maintenance, and that maintenance is, the maintenance that you've done, you're basically at end of road, end of life of road. In a lot of cases, you're starting to do construction. If you look at the village is in pretty bad shape in terms of poor roads. But what I will say is, we are not any different than any of our other communities in the county. Even when you get down into the Rosevilles, even in Chesterfield, Macomb Township, there are many, many places that have subdivision roads that have been taken on by the communities, that are in poor shape, that are in need of work. And then even M19, I mean, M19 is in poor shape, that's MDOT's, it's on there long term. I don't know when they're gonna be doing that, but obviously, there's sections that are needing to be done. But where there was work done, at the 26 in Gratiot, or I should say New Haven Road and New Haven Road and Gratiot, you'll see areas of green there. I mean, that was the new pavement that was put in. So generally everything starts at a 10 the day it's new, and usually within a year it goes to a 9, and then depending upon the use, there's almost a formula of how certain types of roads degrade. The one thing I will say that this doesn't take into consideration, it's separate, is there's a Pacer system for asphalt and there's a Pacer system for concrete. These numbers are all mixed together, and we don't differentiate what roads are what type, but we do have mixtures of both.
Are we gonna keep this summer, or is it going on the website, is it?
This will be something that will go in the master plan document as a conditions thing. And one of the items that I have not talked to Chris about, and I don't know how the village does it, but one of the elements of the master plan, which was not in the last time, is a comprehensive, is a capital improvements program. If DPW has a capital improvements program, we should cite that and then see if it kind of correlates with what we're seeing here. Where are you making the investments, or where do investments need to take place? And basically, those guys have a better understanding. They'll be able to tell us what's worse. New Haven Ridge is worse than Clark. And I hope to be able to explore that when we sit down in the next month. We'll be setting up meetings with DPW, fire, and just asking them, are there elements that you'd like to get input to the master plan? So we get other departments within the village to be able to give input as well. I will talk to DPW, ask them about today's information at that time.
You need to take Ambets Drive and take it from that pretty green and make the whole thing, whatever's worse than red. Because it's not a road anymore, it's just craters that you drive on the people's lawn to get down there.
Interesting. Now,
It's really
the other thing that I will state about this is that this is a composite look. With the data from SEMCOG, one year they may have driven M19 in Gratiot. They may have done mile roads and then came in with the subdivision. So these are snapshots at different points in time. So those conditions, that AMVETS could be as early as, that could have been a 2009 that they looked at.
It's not a road, it's just dirt.
Is it just dirt now?
Yeah, it's not a road.
Okay.
It's like a driveway.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been back there before.
Jeff, I will
Yes.
tell you that is, they have done the Pacer, correct? Is it Pacer, thank you, already, and there is a lineup right now, and there's some experimental things you're gonna do on a couple streets. So there is something in the works.
So these items have been, are being addressed. That's the most important thing I really want to know, is just that as we're looking at development, things that are going to impact development, impact investment, obviously the transportation network's important to the community. And then also with the traffic counts, they're important in a number of different ways, just the total vehicles in terms of doing that maintenance, and then also for marketability, where we have, we have a corridor that has tens of thousands of cars that go through it, in a day. So with that, those are the items I wanted to put in front of you guys tonight. It's kind of light. We will be back next month. If I look at our schedule, I have it here, one moment.
So Matt, are you familiar with the road study that the village has already done?
He's given us the Pacer rating.
Yeah.
I actually have it right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it for you.
Yeah, that's what okay.
Did you do the inventory?
Yeah, we did the paper.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know what the plan is going forward?
Um,
Something to Marla or one of those streets over there is gonna be, right? Isn't there a test product?
Yes, there, you have concrete and you have asphalt roads. Concrete is very expensive to replace, you know, you get the mountain and you remove all that debris. The asphalt you can mill and then overlay right away. It's a one-day operation. Much cheaper, but it doesn't last as long. So we have Marla and Midfield that we're looking at, their PISA rating is 1 or 2. Both failed, at least the westerly half. That we're gonna test the mill and fill and overlay. So we're gonna mill 3 inches of concrete, it has a 6-inch section. We're gonna mill the top 3 and then put asphalt on top. That's gonna prolong for about 7, 8 years versus a brand new construction, 15 years. But it's better than nothing. And with your limited budget, that's what council is looking at.
But then you gotta go back to it again.
Correct. And it's a function of drainage and axle loading, so as many trucks hit the road, it's gonna deteriorate this faster. So that's why we want to test it at 2 side streets, see how they hold. If they hold 2 years, not gonna do this again. If they hold 10 years, maybe this is the way to do it.
Well, should you do something like Margot? I mean, those are both dead-end streets, nothing of any size travels on there unless somebody's getting their art van delivery.
Mark, what was the rating on Margot?
Margot's in the red as well, and I know it's a bad street from driving on. Margot at least gets constant traffic every day to see how something like that holds up. But these two are dead-end streets.
I'm trying to find.
Yes.
You have-
Wasn't it a test or something product, right?
Yeah, that polymer,
Yeah.
That
we
was
decided
expensive.
not to do that.
Okay.
Those are good for potholes, but not for paving.
And it was stayed in the pothole, but then the road around the pothole problem, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the product itself is very strong and very endurable, but everything around it is starting to deteriorate. So you have to connect.
How did Roselle get green?
Which one?
Well,
Roselle.
that's somehow, his is completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, this isn't anything to do with you. Oh, good, because I would have thought you were drinking.
I can forward you the one you provided us.
Oh, please do.
yeah.
This thing I get, nothing but.
I'll email you the both. We did sidewalks and all streets.
Oh, I have really, you did it by eye.
We drove, yeah, every one of them.
Oh, cool.
We have a template and we rated every street and every sidewalk.
Thank you very much.
Nope.
Okay, Jeff, did you have anything else?
No,
to
just,
add with
just so you guys know, moving forward, where we're going next month, during April, I'll be scheduling meetings with the village department, as I said, to solicit their input for the master plan. In April on the 2nd, that'll be our next planning commission meeting. At this time, I'll probably be joined with other staff from the county. We're gonna come out and talk about the concept, we've used it before, the concept of character areas, and talk about how we use those to start discussing what we'd like to see future land use or future uses look like in those. Last time when we had our character areas, some of them were the Gratiot corridor. We looked at that as a character area. We looked at our industrial areas and looked at the downtown as unique areas. We'll also identify, we'll also identify our residential districts as well. So it basically gives us a general framework to begin to start talking about types of changes we'd like to see. So really next month, I guess your guys' homework would be start thinking of, if we think about the character areas that we have, we can take a look at the old plan, probably introduce the same ones. If there's concerns that we have along Gratiot, if there's things we'd like to see different, be in time to start compiling that list of those items, looking at what things we have an effect on and could potentially change, and keeping in mind that the tool that we have to change them is the zoning ordinance. So any corresponding items that we want to do in terms of changing densities in different areas, being able to change types of uses in areas, these would be things to start talking about potentially next week. That's my run.
All right, thank you. And ordinance updates, including the sign ordinance.
Okay, the village president authorized the attorney to go out and take a look at the sign ordinance as we had drafted it and distilled it down. And what you have before you in this draft is basically the fruits of their work. I have not read it completely yet. I haven't read it to compare it to where it has changed. But I can say that the largest section that is, you'll see that there are no exempt signs anymore in here, so that took care of those things. And there is a general qualifier here, well, actually, there still are exempt signs. But we do have a qualifier here now that they felt happy with. This is say that any other sign or content that is protected under consistent with the Supreme Court ruling for Reed versus Gilbert would be considered an exempt sign. So they gave us a blanket statement. What I want to do is still read through this, or at least see if there's anything with political signs. I think political signs are completely off the table at this point, that we have no way of regulating them any longer. But like I said, I haven't just received this, did not read through the whole thing. Question, I guess, is this is an item that does need to be approved by village council, and it would be something that we would need to schedule a public hearing for this body to have the public be able to make comment on it, and then ultimately to make a recommendation for council as to how we would want them to go on that. So that's the one item. We do have a host of other changes that we took care of over the course of last year, and I think it was...
Well, while we're on the sign ordinance, can we just handle that and make a motion to have our public hearing next month on it?
I think we should
Before
wait.
you move on to the next
I would
item?
think we should wait another month and set the public hearing next month for April, so that we can review the sign ordinance and do it all at once.
Yeah, because there are other items we need to do public hearings on here. That's what I was going to address.
I was just concerned because we still have the two conflicting sign ordinances.
Right.
To get this thing done, finished, and we're gonna have to come back to this thing next year anyways. So whatever is lacking, we're gonna have to redo it in these court cases.
It's possible that as we go through the master plan process, there might be some things that we still want to tweak in terms of signage, square footage and those items. I would agree, Rob. I mean, the sign issue is hanging out there. Fortunately, we haven't really had any requests for signs that have come in, other than what we had with the Dollar General store was really the last one that came through. Now we're gonna see some coming. The action that we need to take is that we would make we need to have a public hearing, we need to make a recommendation to village council. Village council then will need to pass a resolution and do one of two things which needs to be decided. Right now, we have a portion of the sign ordinance that lives outside of zoning and it's its own ordinance. And then there's the section in the zoning ordinance that we're following. One of the things that needs to be discussed or asked of council is where do they want this to live? Do they want it to be part of zoning or do they want it to be a separate document? As the attorney set this up, they basically rewrote it as a completely separate ordinance, basically taking all the numeration and section numbers that I had put in that make it fit into the zoning ordinance out. So my assumption is that's their intent, but I have not had any discussions with Chris or anyone on that other than just the one attorney who contacted me and said, I want to send this over to you, this is where we're at. So I would...
Is it better in the zoning ordinance, because that's where people are looking, when they're looking to build, they're looking in the zoning ordinance for it, right?
It doesn't, I personally don't think it matters. I don't know, Samantha, do you have any opinion on where signs should be? Should they be their own separate ordinance or be within the zoning? I see it both, communities handle it both ways.
Yeah, typically it's within the zoning, but we've seen it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how they're comfortable doing it. I would say if it's in the zoning, it's all one package.
My 10 cents is that we've been working on this over a year, and I'd like to see a sign ordinance, even though it's going to be temporary, at least there's one.
I do agree, but I feel like we should, I think you just got this today. didn't you?
Yeah, I would really like the time to read through
For
it.
a while because.
Yeah, he hasn't had a chance to
They
review
were
it.
gonna wait and collect you know, a bunch of things and publish them all together.
We have other ones. We have to set a public hearing for the other moving ordinances. I'd rather do them all at once, post them all at once, so that we're not posting, having like public, you know.
I mean, we could do it.
And I'd like to give them a chance to go through this before we do it.
I mean, we know how many people are gonna show up for a public hearing.
I hear you, but I'd still like to give him the
Yeah.
planning the opportunity just to double check it, make sure that we're good on their end, and then set the public hearing for April. Right, it's March
That's
now,
what I'm saying,
April,
April.
May. We'll set it in April for May.
Okay, so the other things related to zoning, that we still have heavy land and industrial office districts. We propose changes to that. That still requires a public hearing for those changes, and then a recommendation to village council for approval. We made changes to the PUD and overlay district as well. Those need to be, they need to also go through the same process. And then the signs. So we really have 1, 2, 3 items out there that all need to have a public hearing. They could all be rolled into one
Yeah.
big notification, one notice, and give it all to council and do it one
Yeah,
as opposed to hitting them independently. But if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I did send a letter out. It was dated January 2nd. It was a summary of basically what we did in 2018 and all the proposed actions. What's required, what needs to happen next, are all detailed out on this one.
Can you send us a PDF of everything that we're gonna look to put to, public hearing next month?
In what way, Rob?
In a PDF.
Just the changes and everything?
No, the
or-
whole final documents that we're gonna look to approve in a PDF format so we can read them.
Sure, yeah, I can give you this, I can give you the sections.
we should
Yeah.
have them all.
I
But we
believe.
have them in that Google thing and stuff.
Oh,
I'd like a
Yeah, I'll be
PDF
happy
that I
to send
can
them, I'll be
print
happy to
and
send them as a
search and I
PDF
can
as
read.
opposed to a Word file, yeah, not a problem.
and over the month, everybody take a look at the sign ordinance, although, you know, if you have anything, send it over.
And I'd like
So
to
we don't
have
have
a
any-
PDF too.
Okay.
Yes.
But I know other people, some, you know, Kyle, Brian, we looked at Google Docs, but whatever they were.
Not a problem. I realize that didn't work, and I've just gone and distributed everything as PDF, so I'll be happy to resend those out.
Thank you.
Anything else with ordinances, Jeff?
No, that is all I have.
Okay, new business. We need to set a public hearing. I think we got an email on that. I'm not sure. Did you hand out anything more on that one?
I did, I handed out a copy of the letter that I received before the meeting tonight.
Okay, so
Which is
set,
nice. We're talking about basic metals community from CPM.
yes, set a public hearing for basic metal special land use. They'd like aluminum storage, 57250 Roselle.
This was the one that had a lot of
Right.
question marks.
They got a mess to the south of it that they own that they haven't ever come before planning for.
So you want,
So I
I was just reading.
okay.
Go ahead.
I just want to understand the process of this. So they already have all of their approval for what they're doing there now, correct?
The history of the site, as I understand
Yes.
it from working, talking to Lori, is that Basic Metals acquired the property on Roselle, where they were asking for the special land use, when the previous owner tax reverted it. When they took it over as offices and places to park their vehicles. At that time, the village issued them a certificate of occupancy.
Right.
And what has happened since that period of time, I can't attest to. If there's been, I've heard there's been things that are stored there and there aren't, or there have been. What they've come before the village, they said we would like to exercise an option to be able to store bundled aluminum there to be picked up and shipped out. We indicated to them that we require outdoor storage, special land use, which they do not have at the site. They then basically provided a very brief site sketch, which you saw, referencing in the site sketch, this is a site sketch amending the previous site plan. When I went back with Lori, there never was a site plan done for that property. So where we're at with them now is, I have nothing to review, so I have nothing to provide you guys as a recommendation. But the zoning ordinance does indicate that if they are going to do any type of outdoor storage that is commercial in nature like that, then they need to come here for a special land use, which requires a full site plan, which then requires drainage, things that CERMET has to look at. It requires screening and buffering, which they do not have on the site. Those things we would want to all see in the site plan.
But they've in essence taken this piece of property and this piece of property and made them one. The traffic travels in between, there's no barriers between the two separate properties. They're really not being treated as two separate properties. They've combined them, and then this bottom half has never, is a disaster
If
area.
I remember correctly, it was a house with a garage shed out back, but they demolished the house and kept the garage shed for storage.
And they made it into the office today.
Yeah.
But outside of all of that, there's so many things on the list
There's 16 items.
that are not, that they haven't done yet, I guess.
Correct.
So I'm questioning personally, why would we move ahead with a public hearing when we're kind of putting the cart before the horse?
The initial request from them was for a special land use consideration. So when we received that, we were going to schedule a public hearing. When we did not receive a complete site plan, it's still on the agenda. So you get, basically, you could not set it. We could set it in hopes that we would receive the proper documentation, but I don't know that we'll have time to review it prior to that. It's your guys' prerogative. My comments on this is that as I've looked into it, there are a lot of transgressions and iniquities that happened in the past on these sites. But to properly move forward, we need to follow the letter of the ordinance, which is to make them come in.
Can we take a minute to read this letter that we all just
Yes,
got
go
today?
right
Is that
ahead.
okay? We just, do you mind? So because this
Oh,
is
they're
from
not-
them, correct?
This was from
It was on
the,
email from you.
From who?
You sent it.
Oh, no, this is a letter that was.
Oh, no.
No, I was asking about.
She, oh, right here. Actually, 15.
Oh,
We're
okay,
number
that was
16.
from him, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the planner who didn't let any of this stuff get done right in the first place.
Which co-tenant I have up, is he looking to use?
This is the building. This is where he wants to put the storage. You see how he's created it all into one actual parcel? He's talking about this as being a separate parcel, but he's created it as an entire. So he wants to throw more junk over here. Have you seen that, Jeff?
The site plan?
Actual aerial?
yeah,
of it?
yeah, I'm.
I mean, he's treating the two supposed different parcels as one. There's no
It looks like
barriers between the two of them. He's combining the lots. Should we require him to combine?
Now, he can do that. What we should have required him to do is we should have required the first person before, I mean, the way I understand
But
the
it
history
wasn't.
on 26 was the gentleman who owned the property before, Dan
Press.
Kress, started the initial junk pile there. And
Yeah.
Basic inherited the junk pile, and the village allowed them to continue on using it, and said, well, it was already a junk pile, so you can keep using this junk pile.
The Basic Metals has tied the two lots together. They tore down the barriers between the two lots. There was fencing all the way, and they've turned them into roads. So they combined the two properties. They weren't combined when they bought them.
I don't know the history there, because I thought all of the property was under Mr. Kress, and I thought he had split it. It sounded like it was split a couple of different ways, because he still owns the triangle portion that's against the railroad tracks. And there's an easement agreement to access his property between he and Basic Metals, which he sold that portion to.
I don't think Dan owns anything over there anymore. Is that what you're saying he does?
I believe Mr. Kress still owns the portion east of Basic Metals and the railroad track, which is a large triangle-shaped parcel that extends north of the special land use area as well.
I'll have to look.
I know that over time there had been some, he had been cited by the DEQ for.
I think he lost,
dumping.
I don't think he's got it anymore.
I don't know what the status there is of that.
And we've been fighting on this property for years and years and years. And at that time, his representative, Patrick Maher, was our planner. He's well aware of the issues that we've had over there.
Yeah, but he doesn't represent us, so.
But he did,
I know, but now, you know what I mean?
when he wouldn't do anything.
The only question I have about this letter they submitted to us, Jeff, is this number 4 has already received approval for outdoor storage by the state of Michigan. What?
This is a concern that I have as well, because generally before Laura or someone or DEQ will give that out, they'll want an affidavit from the community that it meets zoning and it meets approval. I was never, in my time, I've never been asked to provide that type of a letter, so normally that would have to come from the community.
When did that property come out of the Parrots' hands?
Let's see. I would bet you maybe 13,
That was what
maybe
was in my
about
head.
13, 12, 13, 14. I'd say 13, just kind of,
So in the last 4 years, he's torn down all the fencing and combined the two lots without,
He wants to store, I mean, there's just a lot
so
of,
he's altered the plan that was laid out there originally without coming back to us.
There was never a plan, though.
but I think.
I really think that when I first moved here, the Parrots were here to build that place at planning. I think there has to be something at some point.
You're talking about the building on Roselle?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure they work for that. I'm sure building department did that.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, there's
took
a
care of
site
that.
plan for that, and they've altered it.
We looked, but we did not see a site plan for that building at all. When we went through the records.
I'll have to look at my stuff, because I remember them going through planning. I don't know if I was sitting out there or sitting here, but they went through the process of doing it.
There is another action that was taken against Mr. Kress when he had his garbage pile there. There is a letter that is in the file dated from 2009 that he was cited by the village as being in violation of zoning ordinance and was given an ultimatum to cease and desist his operation. But there's no record of what happened there.
There's also been fires there. We should get the fire department to tell us how many times they've been over there putting out fires for improper storage as well.
All I can say is there's been a lot of inequities in the past. The only thing I can recommend as the planner is that we stick to the rule of the law and move forward, and we would hold them to a complete full site plan and any of the requirements that come from engineering related to parking, pavement of that space, and also I believe you submitted comments about the clean out and maintenance of the detention basin pond that's out there. What you see, if you look at our most Google photo, looks like it's pretty choked full of whatever it is.
It's nice and green.
Anything.
In
I don't
opening-
think- If it's functional, I wouldn't know.
In opening them up to creating a full site plan, which doesn't exist, does that open them up to be compliant in all aspects of
Yes,
that site plan?
absolutely.
So it's actually probably a good opportunity
Eradicated.
to bring them into compliance.
And when we're talking bringing compliance, are we talking just this particular lot, or are we talking this other lot as
We will
well?
be talking just this particular lot.
right.
I'm not inclined to give anybody with holding that mess to the south of us to give them anything new.
Because I don't think we can make them draw up a site plan on something that's already existed.
But they just built it and never did it.
Right, I don't,
Just because they have skirted the law doesn't mean they should continue to skirt the law.
no, but
I
like
don't-
what Jeff said, a full site plan on what he's proposing, I mean, it's really all we can do. I mean, we can't have him go back and start
Well,
over.
The village should close the business down then if they don't have
I
a.
would say
So
you
this is
you have to
26.
confer with the village
This right
attorney on
here
the southern
would be-
portion of the lot. Since a letter of action was there stating that it was in violation and was supposed to cease and desist its use. What happened, if it was not followed up on, I don't know. But any retroactive items on a different, because that is a separate tax parcel. It's a separate piece of ownership.
Right, so does that separate tax parcel have the licensing that the southern parcel has? Because when you get the license, it doesn't mean you can just operate it wherever you choose. Was the license to the south piece or to the original parent piece?
Well, the parent piece was never zoned for any of that stuff or created for any of that stuff.
That's what I'm saying, if I don't know, I have an answer to it, but because he has to have a special license to operate what he's doing, correct?
Yes,
So does that license cover both of those parcels?
I don't know.
Right, so I think we're obligated, I agree with you, Jen, that, I mean,
Well, I think this also, if, sorry to interrupt, Tracy, gives us an
No.
opportunity to address both properties, even though, because there's going to be things that are necessary between these properties that are gonna have to fall with it. Am I right in understanding that, like, they're going to need to show some separation? Am I right in that
Potentially,
potentially?
yeah. I have to look at the screening requirement. Generally, between uses, it would need to do screening there.
It wouldn't have to.
No. But what I would ask is, that is, I don't know if you looked at, does that detention basin service both properties?
Yes, and
So potentially, there might be,
I found some records that they're connecting the southern property to the basin also.
Right, so I think it opens up an opportunity to also address that second property, and so,
Because they're zoned differently as well, aren't they?
no, they're all zoned, it's all heavy
They're
industrial.
both, I thought the other one was
So
light
there's-
industrial.
Definitely was never a site plan done on the southern half.
No,
Okay.
definitely.
on
I think there
on
was
the
a-
storage part,
I think there wasn't a parent property too.
I believe there was one on the original property.
And they weren't the type of people to just throw something
No.
up. They built a beautiful
Yeah.
building. They had a classy operation up there.
Well, and I'd have to ask too, just because of that property, the road, that road's there, would county have a copy of that site plan?
There's no,
No?
Site plans do not, they would be local. The only thing we have is, the only thing that's at the county would be, anything that goes to the registry of deeds, transfers, quick claim deeds, the transfers of real estate records are there at the county.
well, I think we table the public hearing at this point until we get
Yeah, there's
good
a,
materials in our hands.
I would agree, there's a hurdle, bunch of hurdles.
I got no way to answer any questions from the public hearing.
And I would like to know about the licensing, because can they purchase the next northern piece of property and just keep moving this business along? Like, how- I just want to, I
Oh,
want to
yeah, 'cause it's a big
understand,
hump
maybe
right
they
here.
can, I just want to understand how that works.
And you can also attest to the fact that their garbage started out low.
Oh,
Now the thing is like a monument on 26 Mile. It's, 30 feet high of trash.
Couple trucks.
Yeah, I'm tired of it.
okay.
Well, I think we have our answer.
Tracy, I will look into the Lara zoning, or at least the Lara licensing, or it's not Lara DEQ, find out what permits are actually there. I'll do some homework and send that around to the group.
Okay, that would be great, thank you.
But, okay, so a question to Jeff. Do we have any obligations to set this public hearing?
None at this point. We do not have, if we were looking at our development guidebook, we would say we're not at the full site plan, we would kick this back to them and ask them, once we have that, we'd set the public hearing.
Now, we do have to give the petitioner, how are we going to communicate with them, what?
Lori would let them.
Lori will have that, okay.
So this would actually take a couple of months, right? Because it would be next month, if they produce a site plan. then you would have to vote on it. Public hearing would have to be, what, the following month perhaps? So you're looking at June.
Okay, Joe.
If,
I'm not worried.
If they were to come forward with a workable site plan that could be reviewed within a reasonable amount of time, and also recognize that they are requesting the special land use, we could parallel both. If everything's, we could do that lockstep and parallel that, hold the public hearing for the special land use and approve the site plan.
I mean, you think they would achieve all those?
That's
a lot of
balls in their
work.
court. Balls in their court on that one. But yes.
Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, I would
If
agree.
they're willing to work, I mean, we can do that to expedite it, as not to drag, we don't have to drag our feet. If they're ready and we feel, well, myself and Sir Matt have adequate time to review.
Okay. So Matt?
Yeah, I have a comment. I got a call today from Pat Maher, and I was just waiting for you guys to finish. He doesn't have a copy of the original site plan, and I told him I don't either. So we don't know what's the difference, what are you proposing here? And what they submitted was not clear, because we thought it's a proposal of improvement and drainage and all that, and he said none of that is proposed at this time. And what I told him is, your conceptual site plan does not say that, or doesn't say we're just putting chalk line where we're gonna put the storage, the outdoor storage. That's what he's proposing. No change in grading or drainage or any of that. And I said, well, you need to state that and make it very clear. And to my understanding, a public hearing is for the public to come in and review a proposed
Set of plans.
Yeah. So if you're not comfortable enough, or maybe they can produce a set plan really quick for them to keep the public hearing set up, it's totally up to you.
Do you have any connections with, know anybody at Birch Leroy? Because that might have been where that got approved.
Yes, I think you're right. It was back in 04 or 05 when it was done. It's very hard to get any copies from Birch Leroy's office.
Is it?
They were Lennox planners before.
Because that
But they could
didn't
have
happen
too.
until 06.
From the aerial, it looks like it was built in 05. So any time prior, that's when they came in for set plan
Yeah,
engineering.
Birch Leroy.
Yeah.
Is there a way for us to make a request from them?
I think that-
In my experience, the answer would be everything was archived, offsite, or destroyed, or lost.
Well, I don't want these guys providing us with the plan. I want us to get a plan that they didn't just print out in their backyard, you know.
Well, if
But if they have approved
they
site
have
plan,
it,
it's
there'll
gonna
be
have, it's
approvals
gonna have
on
our
it.
signature and stamp
Yeah.
of the building department and whoever the plan commission chair was at that time.
Yeah, we want to see the original one. We don't want to see a new one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm thinking Birch Leroy to get the plan.
We may have it internally, but somebody has to go through the clerk's files.
All right.
Yeah, I don't
So-
know. Lori and I looked through the basic metals file for this and did not see anything but the C above. It's the only document that we saw in there.
You need to look through the pile that no one's ever looked through. That's where all the missing.
Okay.
You know, Lori over the years has pulled things out and made files where there were none, but there's still a big old pile of junk that no one's ever gone through.
So my question to the table is, do we want to give them an opportunity to prepare their stuff rapidly, set the public hearing if it's not prepared within the information based on?
Well, the information would need to be able to be reviewed
Yeah.
and be available for the public by the 15 days prior to the public hearing
Right.
notification. Because it has to be available for someone to come in and
Okay.
the village and look at.
I think it's.
So we're cutting it, they would be cutting it very
Cutting it.
short.
Okay, I'll just ask then, just for the sake of, anybody have a motion to set a public hearing? Okay, moving on. Administrative approvals for specific zoning variances and requests. This came from, it's more of a discussion. This came from President Dilbert to discuss at the table. I briefly talked to Jeff about it. Very specifically, Kmart is asking to put in a dumpster. Is that,
A larger dumpster that would normally not fit in a standard dumpster style enclosure. It's a long one, side loading dumpster.
and for that, they are required to come and have a public hearing for a variance.
They would, our zoning
Right.
ordinance indicates that they would need some type of a variance from the screening of that. That's the letter of the law of the ordinance. Although, I think most people would look at it, see that it's not a visual site hazard, it's next to their building, it's screened. I think Mr. Nagy went out and you drove and took some photos of the dumpster
Trying
at
to dig it
Hagar.
up here.
That,
Yes.
So that you- oh,
it's fair, it would not be an issue.
I'll see the first.
But our policy states that they would need to go to the CBA for that change.
So the conversation that was wanted to be had at the table was, we want to allow such changes like that be done administratively with Surmet, our planner, and representation of like president at the time, without having it come to planning. I think it's a slippery slope personally. You know, where do you draw the line? What comes
You keep
here?
taking things away, we're already losing all the PUDs, we got no control. You can't keep, I mean, what are we here for?
I can see the frustration for a business. I can understand, I can relate, but I guess I just don't know where that line would be.
Where all the biggest problems we've got in this village, like basic metals, is because the administration makes their own decisions and it never makes it to this body.
Right.
And it don't make it to the village council. So slipping stuff away from us is what got us into trouble that we're stuck in. It's driving me utterly nuts now.
Income.
Yeah, this is by all means not to take, power from this body. It's only for items like a change of color, or a dumpster is not on this corner, it's on this corner. So the site plan has been approved by the planning commission. It's just minor changes that happen after, that it doesn't need a full a review of the planning commission, maybe a review of the planner, and recommendation by the engineer and building department for minor changes on the site plan. This is by all means not taking away your authority.
Part of the problem is so many of these parcels that come back wanting something never made it here in the first place. So it gives us the opportunity to get it over here.
Totally understand.
Perhaps pave his driveway up to code, to current standards, instead of the dirt and mess that he has there, to allow changes in their site plan. Because it never, so much of this village never got here in the first place. It's always been done administratively. And hence, I gotta look at a 30-foot pile of metal every time I come and go from my house.
I have a question and a comment. So how common is this practice in other communities?
Very common.
Common, but with limited, with a set parameters on how it can be done. To give you an example, we decided, we looked at signs that we would allow our zoning administrator to provide a sign, to be able to administratively review signs. And the reason we did that is because we said signs have to be this. I mean, it's very cut and dry what you can have for a sign. Either meets it or doesn't. So we elected to give him that ability to do that, but then also reserve that if he didn't feel comfortable about the material or something, you can always kick it back to this body. Now, what Surmet is saying, I would agree with, to help expedite the process. If a complete site plan has come to you guys that Surmet and I have signed off, and it's fully compliant, and we get to that, we get down to the engineering stages, and then something like this comes up with the dumpster. Do you really want it to come back before you, or do you want to just, this is one of those things where corrective action can be made administratively, as long as it doesn't basically go outside of the bounds of what the original site plan or intent was.
I think Tracy makes a great point, but Roseville, East Point, communities that have been reviewing site plans for the last 60 years and have had competent administrations is totally different than what we have had over the past.
But that's what we
30 years.
have had. If we
I
look
know,
at it
that's
as
what I
a
mean.
process moving forward, if we look at Paymar, for example, they came in, they were completely compliant, we worked with them, we fixed, fixing some legal issues with parcels, and we got a lot of things cleaned up there that were problematic issues. So do we need them to ride? Right now, they need to go to ZBA, I mean, for this change in the dumpster, but the question is, within the site plan review language, which is part of the zoning ordinance, if there were items that you felt comfortable providing either the planner, zoning administrator, or the engineer to have latitude to do that, that would be where you would define it, and those would be cut and dry parameters. Wouldn't be someone approaching the village saying, hey, I don't want to do this, can we just throw this rule out the window? The rule's all still in
Oh,
place.
I'll give you a perfect example. Dollar General, right? We approved their site plan with a hydrant right on the south side, on an island. As part of the site plan and the preliminary engineering, that looked really good. And then come to construction, they couldn't do it. They dug the ground, it wasn't possible. So administratively, it was decided to approve the hydrant to be moved to the, closer by the entrance. Now did not change the site plan, by all means. Didn't change the site of the building, didn't change the parking requirement, didn't change any of the general idea of what site plan was approved. But these are the things that we're looking for. Not total revamp or double size the building or make the pond half size. This is not the intention here.
I had a question and then a comment, but you led me to another question, then I'll comment, and I'll wrap up. But Dollar General was a continuing project. So yes, you're gonna run into situations like that we have, that there's common sense is gonna prevail in that. But Paymar is already established, correct?
No, this was their new warehouse building.
Oh, this is their new
This is
warehouse. I
their
did not
new-
hear that.
this is-
I thought it was their
This is
existing.
adjacent to the new warehouse building that they just did a site plan for and built. That we approved.
When did we approve
We
the
approved
plan?
it?
Yeah, that site plan came through the planning.
When?
I never seen it. I never heard it.
2000, I want to say, it was a while back because there were.
Over more than a year.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Well,
Thank you,
yeah, it's
because I'm
at
like,
least-
I don't
This is
recall.
at least 2.5, 3 years in the making.
Okay.
Because there were,
But is the building up
the building has been constructed.
and they're
They have
occupying
a
the building?
CFO, they're occupying the
Okay,
building.
so that's the difference between that and the Dollar General. During construction, obviously, if a hydrant has to be moved, that's common sense. They already occupy the building, we're all set with that, with that.
And
So
and
this
there
is
was
a
a
new
dumpster,
thing.
there wasn't originally a dumpster plan there for a standard size dumpster, and then I think they came to the realization that we need a larger one.
So they're
now
changing.
They're changing.
An existing, something that was already, because they're occupying it, is a different ball of wax than, and it's not about power or anything like
No,
that.
it
It's
is a little
about
process.
what
yeah.
the rules are, and I don't, maybe that's something that we could toy with in the future, but I think right now, we all agreed we were going through all of our ordinances, we're gonna get everything in line, and then maybe that could be added on at the end. That's my opinion, I don't know how everyone else feels about it. I mean, I'm not saying you're not a good judge of what changes could be made, I'm just saying, I think we need to have all of our ducks in a row first, before we, because what if,
What if we lose you? I think you're a competent person.
right,
But what if you're gone tomorrow?
like that, or will we let Paymar change their dumpster, you know, who else is gonna come forward that's already occupied and gonna make a small change? Oh, well, they just wanted to put a purple awning up, and you guys said it was okay that we, you know what I mean? I don't think it's fair.
The way I always recommended it, even to Lennox and Orchard Lake Village, if something like that happens and they come to me for a question during construction or at the engineering stage that affects the site plan, I would always fire back an email to the planner and whoever approved the site plan before and say, okay, this is the change that they're proposing. Do want them to come back for a site plan reapproval? Or can we approve this administratively? And this is what I sent Jeff right away. If it's a minor change, sometimes the planner communicate with the body and say, okay, we received this, we don't see any problem with it, it's not going to affect the site plan approval. We recommend administratively approval. And you move forward and you have it on record. It's not like we're making decisions without the village knowing about it.
I agree with Tracy, but also on top of that, it's great when we have somebody in place that you're in place. We also had Fossil in here for 10 years who did nothing of that. It was, oh, sure, go ahead. Oh, sure, go ahead. Oh, sure. And we can't create going forward on the fact that we have a great guy now, but you may fly the coop for whatever reason
Girl names.
and fly out of here, or he or whoever that we think is good at this point. We could end up with not that reputable person in a month. And, I hope not, but that's just the way it seems to work. And until this place is running efficiently, maybe in 10 years, with some history behind it, I think we need to re-grasp taking control of what goes on.
Does anyone have any thoughts opposite, in disagreement or on the other side of things, or is everybody kind of on the same?
I mean, I don't really have much of a,
It
sounds pretty clear, you need some bigger garbage can.
Jeff, is there a community that you
But where do you change
currently,
garbage can versus something else?
that you currently work for
That's
that
what we
already
would have
has
to
this worded into an ordinance that you could easily or prevent? Do you
I
have
can't
something you
say
could
that
pull
I do,
from
no.
somewhere? I don't want to make you work to do
No,
it, right?
I'm thinking that the communities that we're currently engaged with are pretty, everything goes back to, Utica brings everything back to council and CPA.
Okay.
They micromanage everything, and the only thing that they administratively deal with their signs. There. The one thing I did, I'm not gonna weigh, because it's your guys' decision, and I would do it however you guys decided, but this article that I did give you guys kind of gives a little bit of theory behind how planning commissions are set up between council, planning commission, and ZBA. And if you kind of think of it as it's kind of like the Congress, it's the executive branch, and it's the judicial branch. But it talks about giving administrative powers in here. And you talk about how it can be done. Again, it talks a little bit about the good and bad of it. But I thought it was, I just read it today, I thought it was kind of, it was pertinent to the discussion today. So you may want to take a look at it. I mean, not that it's going to have all the answers, but it might lead to just how we handle things differently in the future. Maybe you guys do decide to make a change.
One thing I guess on the opposite side of Rob's opinion is that we could make it, I would assume we could make it that if they're non-compliant in any other way, then it's just no. You know what I mean? Like if you're dealing with someone like Basic Metals and it's just a little dumpster change,
That's
but
exactly what I was thinking.
there's, a couple other problems over here, it's just not even an option. You have to be a 100% compliant business within the community.
Well, then if I look at Paymar, they have an old rickety wooden sign out in front. If the site plan was redesigned to add this building to it, who looked at that? Who looked at that driveway? Who looked at that fencing? It's all run down and dilapidated. That all should have been brought up to, when they made the big change to the building, the rest of the property should have been looked at and brought up to current standards. It shouldn't,
I think as long as they have a
Look like it
sign,
looks.
we can't make them replace their sign. Something has to happen, they have to want a new sign for us to make them take out their old sign.
but it's in disrepair, is what I'm saying. And when you're relooking at the piece of property to put up that building, everything should have been said, hey, this is in disrepair, we need it fixed or replaced.
Again, Rob, the problem there is we're dealing with different tax parcels. Although it looks like it's all being operated on, the parcel that the warehouse was built on, those were split and created as individual parcels. So they were compliant, and their site plan was compliant for the screening and everything on their site. We can't then go next to
The one thing that is hanging out there with Paymar though, and I remind this body, some of the people here, Paymar did come in for a split in common, a lot split. The frontage of the parcel that you're talking about, that's on Gratiot, they currently have a gravel exit out to the road. They were supposed to close that as part of the split in common. But again, that's an enforcement issue. If they did come back and ask for anything on that parcel, we would hold them to that needs to be closed, and then we need to make these other things compliant.
Well, then the dumpster's coming back, so we make it compliant, right?
Different parcel, two different parcels, though, that's the issue.
So where would they enter, let's say at Asphalt gets
They would,
Fran-
all of their entrance is going to be on
Franchuk Drive,
Yes.
and then pull to the back,
Yeah.
okay. Got it.
I think we just need to put some more time into
Yeah, take a look at it.
reading this,
Take a look,
understanding it.
think next month. We'll just put it back to talk about it again. Okay.
Other communities with different sized dumpsters, we have the standard.
If
Closure.
comes up,
Masonry closure.
add it to the agenda.
Most of our commercial.
Some new type of.
But are there other standards that other people have, these larger skips
Do it
outside?
as-
Because you couldn't put a street in traditionally the way we want, you just can't unload it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I don't know, you can speak to that, that might help a little bit. You have noted that. Photos.
Yeah. Okay, the last, we do have one more item, sorry. New business on the back is, a discussion, only apartment townhomes and rental ordinances. Just to be clear on this, is when we discuss rental ordinances, we are not talking at all about, structuring the rental process, community, by inspections, or anything else, only talking about development. So, I just brought it to Jeff, with the blessing of Chris, because we've had some properties selling recently, you know, that are those types of properties, and they have the potential to make sure, I guess, I just wanted to bring it to you more as a conversation, to say, I want to make sure that we're up to date with other communities, and just up to date generally, because these ordinances have not been looked at in some time within our community, so.
Limiting how many stories? I mean, we can't go above go above 2 stories, correct? I don't have a fire truck for it. I don't know.
2.5 is the highest we allow multifamily. 2.5 with a density of 12 units per acre. I did
Half
do-
for an apartment? Can you explain that to me?
I'm sorry.
How's 2.5 on an apartment? I understand in a house.
2.5, I guess if you, 2.5, you get a perch basement because of a high water table, I'd get you 2.5.
Oh,
You know, if you got a.
Oh, you're counting the basement, not the attic.
Yeah, if that becomes living, if that bottom floor makes an actual living space. So you could potentially get to 2.5. I did do a quick review of all of our ordinances, and this is what I found related to multifamily. In any of our single-family housing districts, we have identified a thing called an accessory apartment. That's an accessory dwelling within or structurally added to an existing single-family detached dwelling or commercial building. So where that dwelling unit is an accessory to the main building. Those are allowed by special land use, which have to be granted by this body, in single-family, residential office, and general business district. In single-family, it's more like the mother-in-law type of apartment, but when you're talking about residential office or the downtown general business district, it can also be, if you would have, say you would have a storage place where you have someone who's a caretaker on site, we identify that, but being able to have a housing option for them in a not-residential area. I don't know what the status of how many of those that we have in the village, but just pointing out that when we talk about multifamily apartments are kind of always thought about them, we do have those types of elements. There is a section 408 in the zone, and not in the zoning, but within the ordinances of the village that deals with rental property inspection and registration of rental units. You have a rental unit, you're supposed to be registered with the village. It's supposed to be inspected. That's outside of the realm of where we do see multifamily and with the ability for apartments or higher density is in our multifamily residential district. Anything that you see on the zoning map that's in the orange color is zone multifamily. And that has to be done in all of the regulations that follow you have to follow the schedule of regulations. And for any multifamily unit like that, the site plan has to come before the planning commission. The one thing that I was surprised by that I didn't realize was in the ordinance, and I point this out, that in our residential office district, the RO district, which we do have some of it fronting. You could look at, if you have a copy of the zoning map, it's that light purple or black color. We have some on Gratiot. We have some in the Victoria Street area along the tracks and that. Within residential office, we permit single-family 1, single-family 2, and multi-family dwellings, all matching up to that schedule of regulations. And all those uses do require site plan approval from planning commission. So potentially, where you have the, just south of Clausen Street, where we have had that rezoning, you have the property that's there, that is residential office, there is the potential that multi-family something to keep in mind as we go into the master plan and we're thinking about any changes to the zoning ordinance. Then also in the general business downtown district, the downtown general business, principal use permitted uses, since we're looking for mixed use there, single family, multifamily residential development are permitted in the downtown area. But again, all of those, they do require a site plan and approval by the planning commission. So just in a summary, we have a little bit of language in the zoning ordinance that talks about how apartments and multifamily are handled. We don't have any specific language that calls out apartments specifically. The only way apartments are basically dealt with is by height and bulk and the density in terms of the number of units per acre.
Can we add zoning to be more specific than, and separate the multi-uses of residential office?
Yes, that could be changed. Those items, the question I would ask if I was the community is, do we need residential office at all? Why did we create it? What does it mean? And has it panned out to be what it was intended to be? Looking at the opinion, I would say no, it has not. We haven't got the mix of business and stuff, so it might be a zoning classification we'd love to redefine completely.
In your opinion, with what you found, are we prepared for an apartment to be developed?
We're not going to get a there's nothing, we're not going to get a 4 or 5 story apartment. We have land currently zoned for multifamily that could be developed. That would be on Arlington, off of Gratiot, north of the credit union. So that potentially could happen. That would be relegated to the maximum density of 12 units per acre. I don't know. I didn't do the math back in the envelope to see how many units there would be there.
Is it 40 acres?
Is this something, like, with what we have in place, is it comparable to what other communities have?
I think so. I mean, if you look at other communities that, you look at Sterling Heights and Roseville, where people have higher density multifamily, they break their multifamily into different, they break their zoning and the zoning of the multifamily by density. So they may have multifamily low, medium, and high, and in the low density, it could just be townhomes or attached duplexes, all the way up to like a 10-story elderly facility, something you may see that in Sterling Heights.
We don't want to see that.
We don't necessarily want to see that here, but I think what's important to recognize is that because we've taken the PUD option and made that available where it can be overlaid to any districts, if we were to have someone come and look at a piece of, theoretically, look at a piece of commercial property out on the triangle out there, and maybe they want to do some type of continuum of care facility, which may have a larger building that could be potentially 5 stories tall, but it might be something the community wants. But we would have the ability under the PUD to work with them and to modify and go above and beyond the schedule regulations that we currently have. So we're protected from it happening, but if we want it to happen, we have a vehicle to address it if we want to go higher density.
I'd like to see it go down to 2-story. And the reason for that, say like what they're gonna build with this great Beaumont Center over in Lennox. Well, they're gonna have to get a new fire truck to get up 4 stories. So they're gonna have to spend $6-9 million to get a vehicle on a building that they're not gonna collect one tax dollar on because it's not profit.
And Rob, that's why we bring fire, DPW, and police into the site plan review process. Because we may not think about that, but the fire chief's going to go, I can't put fire out that building. It's
Well, no, he's not gonna tell you, he's gonna wait until the building's built and get a new fire truck.
Okay,
They love to buy fire trucks.
So I think we're in good shape. If there's concerns about the density, we can take a look at that as we're going through the master plan. I would say more, if you're concerned about the location of where these things could take place, we may want to look at residential office and see if that still makes sense for the community.
Okay. Okay. Everybody good on that subject? Okay, planners report, you good?
I'm good.
Public comments on non-agenda items? Call for the table?
I would like to bring up, again, I would like to send a formal notice to council to ask them to send, that we stop allowing the PUDs to continue to be altered without coming back to planning commission. I think it's ridiculous, especially because some of them lots are owned by single people. A house that got built in Decorah Park North, have you seen that one? It's just a single house, a block, plain nothing, no architecture to it, with a plain old garage next to it. Inside the PUD. And it was just a single lot, and they just built it. They didn't come back to us again to approve anything. And the building that's getting done, while people may or may not like what's being built, it's still limiting this community to starter homes. And we only got so much property. Pembroke was designed to be that subdivision that was a place to step up from. Maybe you went from Amherst to there. Or Decorah Park was a place to step up. I mean, there's many people that leave this community.
Presumption though about starter houses in the next level though, Rob, I mean, those are all personal choices.
But we don't have it available. I see how many neighbors I've known leave because they can't build a house here that they can build in Macomb Township. They can't get that house here. They like the community, they love all the schools, they like it. But they're ready to move up to a house that has 6 bedrooms and more space, and we're building the same house repetitively in 3 different subdivisions at one time. The same exact homes, nothing different, there's no variety to them. And they're just trying to fill up the lots. And that limits, one, our tax base, 2, the options to keep people that love our community. I liked living in Roseville, but I couldn't get the house I have here in Roseville. So I needed to move. You're pushing people out by not giving enough variety of housing. And that's what the PUDs were designed to do, to give separate, totally different neighborhoods so that you had a place to grow. And what's happening here, and if we keep letting it happen, by the end of this year, the subdivisions will all be built out with that same house. And they're smaller than some of the houses that were getting built before. I think we need to have control over these things and stop letting other people control what will be our destiny. Because once you build it, it's gone. You can't get it back. It'll never come back to us. You can't. And you see communities like Roseville, where they just started building the shotgun minimum, and that's all they got built for the last 30 years in that community. Well, there's no place to grow. Everybody leaves. They start there and they leave there. I don't want people to start and leave here. I want them to start and stay. It makes us stronger as a community. So that's my suggestion. I don't know if anybody else would agree with it, but I would like to see council, I would like to ask them to stop doing that.
All these houses that come in have to present a site plan to Lori, right?
They provide a site sketch at that point,
Yeah.
which then go to Dave, go to building department for those building department approvals. Again, my comment on this, because it wasn't on our watch when we were here, is that
parties to legal or anything agreement that we would have something to stand on. Unfortunately, we don't.
But I don't see how you build.
I'm not the legal.
They built what they were told to build, but then as this corrupt as this crap village has been, those corrupt elements allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do. We have to stop letting that corruption continue to run the way the village is run today.
I think what he's, I'm not to, what he's saying is though, we don't have the base to support enforcing them to build anything differently than what they're building.
So we're going to build the same house through the
Is that
rest of this
basically it?
entire village without a fight? We should at least fight it.
To my knowledge, as a planner, yes, but I can't answer it being, not being an attorney.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I'll go right back to the fact that we made these agreements with LLCs that have all gone bankrupt. And so someone buys the property and they just, oh, it's ours now? We made a deal with an LLC. It doesn't ride with the property. We made a deal with Decorah Park LLC. That has gone since bankrupt 10 years ago. Another company bought the pieces of property, another guy bought a piece of property here, another guy bought a piece of property here, and we're not going to regulate what they do? Doesn't make sense. I don't care what that PUD says. It doesn't make sense that if you drew up a document in the first place with one company and that company don't exist no more, the contract doesn't exist anymore.
The tool that we have before us is zoning. If we wanted to make changes in the future to another parcel, potentially another parcel that village-based home, we can increase the square footage, we can change the what's in single family one and single family two. It appears, looking at the PUDs that are in place today, that single family two was the density that was used for that. And then there obviously were tweaks, because those places are a lot closer together, but there's no documentation, unless it's in a file somewhere. I don't know what we can do.
But we know that we found approval of homes and design and elevations and what he built in the first place. And whenever he changed the house, it was usually over the change during a recall, and they pulled 40 permits and built the house. It's being run by previous corruption, and I think it's wrong for us to keep allowing it without any kind of fight, not to
I will say,
reign in this community.
I agree with the frustration, and I recognize everything that you're saying. Legally, though, I don't think we have a means to make them do anything more, except for what Jeff said, going forward, rezoning, having higher standards, on a positive side, because I square it just as well as you do. I mean, people are buying the homes, they're moving in, there's a want for them. I mean, they're not sitting there empty,
They're all buying them to start.
I understand that. I understand everything.
More established people to live here.
Was it 300,000 and below is considered a starter home? On average, I think is what it is. Wasn't the north part of the setup, the north, kind of for that purpose, what you're talking about? Because those houses are out there.
Yeah, but they're not gonna build that house anymore. He's building his econ value, whatever he calls it.
But we haven't seen anything for the north side, or,
Well, the
Yeah.
woman that's selling them says that what she's sitting in is what will be built in north after they're done with phase 4 of Decorah, and then after phase 5 of Decorah, and then they're gonna build that same house in Decorah North, and they're gonna build the same house in Pembroke, and they're gonna build the same.
And I don't believe there's, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a PUD at all for Decorah Park North, is there?
For Decorah Park?
North. For
North.
Or north, the records that I have show that, no, Decorah North is not. That would be Salt River, Thomas, and Arlington Streets. That is zoned single family. I apologize for that. It's single family. I believe it's single family one. Yeah, it's single family one is what it's zoned. And under single family one, that is a minimum lot area of 8,700 square feet and a 900 minimum square foot border of 900 square feet.
900 square
square feet.
That is what's in our schedule of regulations for single-family one.
And again, that's why you create a PUD, you make deals, and you create the house. You didn't create that PUD for 900 square foot home. You'll never fund anything in this village. Forget about a Parks and Rec department. If you start, because if we allow them under that thought process to do that,
But if that's what it's,
Suicidal.
we can't go in and change it.
but I'm saying we're going in and changing it anyways, because the PUDs were created.
There's no PUD on those streets, you just said.
Yeah, there's
Everybody
no-
was-
Yes, there's PUDs, it's just SF1 instead of SF2.
No.
No, there's no PUD in Core Park.
There's no PUD there was no PUD
Who's saying
agreement for the north part of Decorah Park.
So you're saying it's platted?
It is platted. It is a site condo, platted site condo.
Which is a PUD.
No, it's a site condo. Different ownership, different method of ownership. It's all one-to-one unified tax parcel under a condominium ownership with individual units.
Yeah, but it still came to planning commission and council as a
Site plan?
a site
Should
plan,
came
and
as a site-
development and the homes and,
Well, if it came as a site plan, then the site plan doesn't require the builder to tell us what type of houses he's going to.
no, but it came with the homes. They called them mini mansions at the time that they came.
Was that what they said at the podium, or that was?
Well, that's the plans they presented.
Okay, I don't know. All I know is that I can say that we have, it's zone single-family one, it's a minimum of 900 square feet. And if you go into the zone ordinance, there is a section under minimum building standards, and that basically what's required to basically be considered a safe home. We don't really have much beyond that. We don't specify materials, we don't go into any of those elements. The way it's pretty much zoned there at that point, it's really what the market's gonna bear, what the developer brings. But the foundation has been laid as that to be single family one.
Foundations laid, the guy's gonna finish off our subdivisions with cookie cutters. Start homes. And then we won't have anywhere to grow. Because there isn't any property in this village that's gonna go residential after this. Where did the village end up on selling the piece of property at Amherst? Who did they sell it to?
They haven't looked yet.
What are the two plans? Are any of them residential or?
Don't have plans.
There are no plans. I think there's gonna be just a discussion about putting opportunity for a proposal together for anyone that wants to participate. In other words, you know what I mean? It's very early, so I don't wanna project my personal opinion, but it sounds like, you know, here's an
They're not looking to
opportunity
sell
for
it.
a builder.
They're not looking per se to sell it at this point without a plan that the village envisions for it,
Well, we'll sell it for the right dollar amount.
to anyone.
Correct.
Would the village be considered RFP on that? Would they
Yes,
request
that's
proposals
exactly, yeah.
to say we would like to see something of this quality, these units?
Yeah, but
That's
it's very
probably the best way
early
to
to
go.
even
Yes.
speculate what.
Unfortunately, the placement of that particular piece of property versus a Pembroke or a Decorah North or a Dakota, you're not gonna get no larger size home there because of the placement. Yeah. So the most valuable pieces of residential property we have left, we're letting it squander on. If this, you know, and the people that we spoke to when we went to the planning meeting, none of those other communities let Lamar get away with that.
We weren't prepared for them coming to do what they did.
Well, they weren't prepared either. Barlow tried to shaft Shelby the same way and Macomb the same way, and they didn't let them do it.
You know, we can rezone things, but if they want to build them now with their current ownership, it would be a liability to make them do anything more than what they're minimally obligated to do.
Then the village should really take that liability, because you can't fix what you continue to let happen. You can't change it. We could tear down homes.
I don't disagree, but
Now, I wish the people in the village council and here worked for us, because to me,
I'd rather fight the fight than just let it squander away because Lombardo has bulldozed his way over everybody that lives in this community and runs this community or bribes them in this community. And we certainly know that's happened. I mean, when you've been to Brett's house, it looks like Lombardo model.
Okay,
I go into no house.
all right. Call from the table adjournment. Motion? Motion to adjourn. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Go ahead.